right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Gearbusters podcast. This is our 8th episode already. Kind of hard to believe that we're this far along in the series right now, but have a very special guest on with us tonight. We have Mike Carr from American Veteran Racing Organization, otherwise known as AVRO for short. And so we're getting set up here with the podcast again, and we have some new equipment if you didn't notice. We're going to get set up with this stuff here. The guys at AVRO were gracious enough to set us up with this microphone for this podcast. So thank you guys for that. And we look forward to getting a lot more of these podcasts out to you guys and doing some more of this stuff here as well. So we have Mike on the show. If you remember, he was on the last episode with us with Lucas Moses from Ghostface Racing, and they were talking about AVRO, and we talked about some other things. But tonight, I wanted to focus more so on AVRO and their mission and get that mission out there, because in the racing community, we have a lot of different support out there, but in the veteran community, we kind of don't have a lot of it at all, and especially in the racing community. So I just wanted to bring Mike back on to have a little bit more of a one-on-one with him and go into a little bit more details about what AVRO does and a little bit of backstory about him. So, Mike, just kind of, give us a little bit of a backstory, why rally, and then, what led you more into, getting AVRO off the ground.
Well, thank you, Matt, for having me back. And like I said in the last episode, it was, kind of snuck out of my room and did something I wasn't supposed to be doing, found it on the Speed Channel, and just absolutely, I've always loved the way the cars move, the way drivers had to react to things. It's a lot different than watching, and no, I'm not dogging any other kind of racing, but like drag racing, it just didn't do it for me. I have family members that drag race. NASCAR was in the background my whole life, and I kind of got bored of that, and I was young, so I'm getting back into it actually now, as one of our veterans' cousins actually races in NASCAR, so it's pretty cool. But I just always thought it was neat to see, racing through the woods or throughout the elements and stuff like that. And I've always been kind of a natural kind of guy, or like in the nature, or hiking, hunting, camping, all that stuff. Plus being in the military, doing all that stuff, it was a lot of fun. So it kind of brings all of that stuff together for me, with being automotive sports as well as being out in the wilderness. So, and it's honestly, I feel like it's one of the ultimate tests to a race car driver, to be able to handle that, going through all those different types of environments and situations.
Well, yeah, no, that's awesome. See, that's one of the biggest things with me with rally is just some of the, the amount of precision that you need to have, but also the ability to adapt to all of the various changing conditions. So it's actually kind of like being in the military, if you think about it, for those who are, have served and things like that, because we have to adapt to those different situations at certain times, depending on what we're doing. And, we follow those certain mission commands and different things like that, and those principles, and we have to make those adjustments. So you told us obviously the inspiration for the rally and stuff like that. Are there any other racing disciplines, interests, or things like that you might want to pursue, either with AVRO or just on your own?
Yeah, definitely want to introduce as many platforms as I can. Obviously, for other veterans, is not everybody does rally racing. So we have guys that doing TQ midgets. We have sprint cars and stuff like that. We have one of our sponsors and affiliates does kart racing, and he was looking to introduce me into kart racing this year.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of excited for that, because I've been watching some of his posts. And for those of you who don't know yet, it would be Wayne from Wiggity Wayne Sauces, who's one of our sponsors with AVRO and stuff like that. And it's actually some of the stuff that he does. I've told Wayne myself, I'm like, man, I want to get into karting, because those things just look like they zip.
Yeah. He actually wants to put together a weekend for us to go to one of the tracks, and he's going to bring his carts out and let us rip around, for fun, just to experience it and stuff. So I'm hoping to get into a couple different platforms this year. But again, like I said, there's another guy who does drifting and time attack. I would love to get into doing that with him and stuff like that, whether I'm driving or just crewing for him. I'm always open to stuff. I don't feel like I should ever close a door on any avenue, because I think they'll go against what we're doing here.
No, I agree. Yeah, there's a lot that with racing that's out there. I mean, I know some of the other big names out there in racing that have gone and done various other platforms. A lot of us all know Travis Pastrana. That one year he was doing boats. Um, he was in dirt track. What the heck was that? I think it wasn't a Legends car. I can't remember. It was a big dirt oval car that he went in on, and he's done some stuff down there at the Freedom Factory with Cletus McFarlane and those guys. So it was a wild time watching him go through these different disciplines. Oh, he drove NASCAR at one point, if you remember that.
Yeah, he actually, I thought he was this year too. He did at least one
Yeah, I'm not
race.
sure. I'll have to look into that because I thought I saw something about that, but I wasn't 100% sure. But yeah,
Yeah.
so there's so many different platforms out there, and even with us here at Drop a Gear and the Gearbusters podcast, there's different racing disciplines that I'm looking to start bringing into the channel. I've got a couple different people who I've spoken to over the years and that we've met at events who do drifting. There's drag racing. I have some friends who are, big into drag racing and things like that. I'm hoping to get some of them on the channel, get some of their stuff, maybe, pop in on them at some of their events and go from there and things like that. So it's going to be a lot of fun bringing in these different aspects. And I'm really excited for that. But another thing that I'm excited for is actually the other things that AVRO is going to be doing with veterans, right? So we talk about racing, we talk about helping veterans, getting behind the wheel. Um, we kind of talk about those different things and even just helping them be part of the, like a race team and different stuff. But what other programs Mike, have you been considering to develop through AVRO to help veterans in off-track style things?
So, I mean, it all starts with, I think, providing an atmosphere where they can escape whatever may be going on or whatever reason they're searching, or on top of it, or just want to learn a skill. So I'm we're in the very beginning works of putting up a shop on my property, where I would like to have licensed instructors come in and teach classes, whether it's fabrication, welding, electrical, whatever. You know, we'll have a lift in there so that way, a veteran needs to come change their tires or something. We'll have that stuff there. Um, but I mean, I know there's could be plenty of things coming down the road that could offer some more services for veterans. Like we're looking to build a sauna on my property too, to help kind of like I need it for arthritis and things like that. Just some kind of therapy, a place to relax and unwind. But we're really just getting into it, so it's a lot of exploring to do for sure. Um, just depends on what we can do or have room for, and then if we have an ability to expand and create more locations, as actually Lucas and I were just talking about a couple of nights ago. About a second location down the road in Tennessee where he's located. He just came across, I think, 16 acres. So
Oh wow.
um, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's quite the amount of property. You could do a lot with that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we're gonna look at everything we can, and obviously within reason. We're gonna do our best not to spread ourselves too thin. However, I do have a lot of connections with other veteran programs, so that way I can be that outreach for veterans as well, and get them in contact with the people they need, to help them get through whatever or help figure out whatever. So it never stops here. I'm always doing something for somebody here, and I just love it. So anything I can do, even if I can't provide it directly for myself, I'll find someone to help.
Actually, one of the coolest things that I like about everything with AVRO, even some of the stuff that we've talked about before, and watching the vision that you have for Avro, which is one of the biggest reasons why I decided to take Drop a Gear and partner up with you guys, because I see such a benefit to giving back to not only my own veteran service members, but as this channel, because of my big goal of giving back to the community as a whole. So to me, it's that nice win-win. Together we can achieve everything, the cliche line, together everyone achieves more, and
Hmm.
all of that stuff. And I like the fact that you have these ideas with the classes, like we talked about, like welding classes, or even just having a shop for guys to come and use. because to me, these classes, these trainings, and things like that, they're great for most of the mental stress disorders that people have coming from service, because not every veteran is coming back from a non-combat deployment, or they're not coming back from a less stressful situation. um like myself, coming from being in communications, I don't necessarily have the same stressors that an infantry guy does, or somebody out there on the you know out in the thick of it and stuff like that. So to me, even though there's those lower stress spots, there's still that stress. And these classes, these trainings help these guys reintegrate. But also for some of them who maybe don't have a career that they did in the military that translates to a civilian world, they can use these trainings to get into those careers. And I see a huge benefit in that, as well as, providing that whole teamwork environment. So it gives them still that feel and that accomplishment.
Mhm. Absolutely. Another way to put it is like bridging those gaps, finding those
Yes.
avenues and stuff like that. And that's huge for me. That term has actually been with me for a really, really long time. A long time ago, I wanted to open up my own speed shop, and the people I had involved, like all different types, we'll just call it genres of motorsports. And I wanted to have like a one-stop shop, and I actually called it like bridged motorsports, because it was going to be able to bridge gaps. Like you didn't have to go to like all these places online for a racing seat, for example. Like some people would like to sit in the seat before they purchase it, right? Or a racing suit or something like that, right? These things will matter to somebody that's stressed out of their mind racing or something, like to be
Oh
comfortable,
yeah.
right? So, it's been a big part of me, and what I've been trying to do, and obviously correlating and getting it all together. Um, and I think we're finally in the right direction. I mean, I think it's just a month so far of doing this stuff as with the new team, I should say, is proven. As like I was saying earlier today, we got that invite to that massive car show. They're donating the property for us to wherever we want to set up, and how many ever cars we want and stuff like that. So um, obviously, it's more than just that we've convinced that we're the real deal,
I
and
don't think it didn't take much convincing. I mean, we had a very, I don't even want to say it was a short conversation, but in the short amount of time that we started talking,
yeah.
um, you kind of you can sense someone's motivation and their drive
Hmm.
and the attitude that they have on how to get it done. And I kind of saw that like right away. And so I was like, well, this guy definitely is somebody I can partner up with. I can
Yeah.
definitely help in, whatever ways that I can, to move his mission forward, because to me, it's something that holds value to me in that grand scheme of things, that everything I'm trying to do too. So we were talking about all these different things, and you mentioned about bridging the gap. And that statement strikes a really big hot button, I think, for veterans when it comes to after service care, with the different stressors that we talked about. And I know it may be a little tricky, given AVRO is just getting started, but I know that there's still a lot of support out there, and the amount of support that you have, and the team that you've put together, I think that it won't be as tricky as it seems. But is Avro going to be looking at providing different off-track support for things like, counseling, medical support, physical therapy, and even things as simple as maybe just transportation assistance?
Yep. So, as far as like most of my team members know, and I think they all should know, like, I never ask anyone to drive on their own. Like, say if we're going to a race, for just a quick example of transportation purposes, I always offer to ride with us. Now, on the other side of that, there's a veteran I help out quite a bit. It's kind of died down, I think, since last like 8 months. He hasn't needed as much, but I would pick him up several times a month to take him out just to go pay his bills, buy his groceries, get out of the house, because he was living at home alone. I've done that for years now. And then on top of that, speaking of home, I actually just started reaching or working with a woman that provides Homes for Homeless Veterans, and it's based out of Rochester right now, but they are opening a location in Buffalo, New York. So we're collaborating, and she's taking all my information for AVRO. So if there's any veterans that go through her, that they can, if they're interested, they can join us and come hang out and whatnot. And same thing, if I come across a veteran and whatnot, and I can direct that veteran to their services. Um, and there's a place called the VA One Stop here in Buffalo that, I mean, since I got out, outstanding, amazing support every chance I get to help them, whether it's even getting involved with their programs or just redirecting a veteran who may be lost with what to do in their situation. I redirect them to their. I'm not a certified counselor by any means. I'll give you the most best adult version of advice I can.
Yeah, I'm the same
Um,
way.
I keep it pretty simple for the most part. Being an MP, you had to. You couldn't really provide that kind of advice, but um,
Yeah.
I do everything I can, and I don't think we'll ever have our own medical facility. However, getting people
No, but
to
I'm pretty sure. I think you said that we won't have a facility and things like that. But I think that we probably will be able to find ways to you know even bridge that gap with
yeah.
different agencies out there.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's someone needs a ride or something, if we can swing it, I'm always willing to do that. Um, you know, Even my kids love helping veterans. We actually saw a guy who was homeless on the corner, and true story, honest to God, this past summer, and my kids were just happened to be in the car, and they actually started crying. They're like, "Well, why is he holding a sign? Why does it say doesn't have a home and all this other stuff?" And God love my daughter. She's about to be 10. She saw they had some bottles of water, like brand new bottles of water. She's like, "Daddy, can we please give them to him?" And I said, "Well, I'll go hand it to him." And I gave him my business card and a bunch of water and stuff like that and whatnot, so thankfully, even my family supports the mission and starting at a very young age too, so which is great. So
And that's really nice to see too, because I think that, well, when it comes to family, right? I think it's really great when the families are involved in these things. They're a part of what we do. My family is a part of what I do, and they, will participate in all of the various things that I do as much as they can. Whether or not it's something like with racing and stuff. Obviously, it's like, well, I'm going because I just want to spend time with my dad, or I want to see the cars or
yeah,
whatever. My 16-year-old goes because he's always trying to see the next car that he wants to buy because I think he's got that bug like I do where it's like, what's the next car that I should buy? I'm not quite sure yet. But I do love the fact, though, that the amount of support that we're seeing coming in not only is coming from our families, it's coming from our friends, but it's also coming from our own veteran community, right? We've got a lot of veterans that are helping because they love serving. They still like to, help, other veterans and things like that. But there's also, I'm starting to see that we're tapping into a little bit of that. I would call it the large pool of non-veterans who are looking to help with these events because, and in general with helping the organization because they see that the veterans can use the support and they also want to support their veterans, and whether it's because they tried to serve and they couldn't, they were denied the ability or whatever, or they just have you know, that spirit of I'm going to help the people who are serving the country.
yeah.
Um, so you and I have talked about it a few times here and there and different things, but kind of give anybody who's a non-veteran who would like to support us, a little bit more information about what they can do to help support the AVRO mission.
Well, first of all and foremost, we are on social media. You can go to our websites. You can Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. You can always reach out to us out there. Um, and then, yeah, right above me here. You can always reach out to us that way. We're going to try to do as much PR kind of things like public relations as possible, like we just did this past weekend at the Hamburg Fairgrounds. We'll be at the State Fairgrounds in Syracuse in July. But just reach out. You want my phone number? I'll be more than willing to give out my number. We already got quite a few non-veterans and people that never served that definitely love just respect for the men and women that serve, and that's definitely growing. And which is it's a beautiful thing. It's I didn't expect it to go as quick as it did, but it is. But yeah, just reach out and send us an email. Or message us on a platform, social media platform, and we'll get back to you pretty quickly. I'd like to think, at least, since we're pretty much on there every day. Um, yeah, any way we can get anyone to help, whether it's just, even if it's just advice about running an event, like we're doing a meat raffle or a gun raffle, or chicken barbecue chicken thing that you and I had talked about, a golf tournament, whatever. We always need volunteers. That's definitely one way to get involved.
So yeah, all of the stuff that Mike's been talking about, the website, things like that, the information, how to get a hold of us to help volunteer with AVRO, is going to be on the website, which should be at the top of the screen above us here. Then you'll be able to see there. If you're listening on the podcast, it's avroteam.org. That's avroteam.org. So you can always go there and check it out there as well. And that website has pretty much everything that we've got going on. We have all of our most right on the homepage when you get there. Is going to be right after the intro to the page. Basically, is going to be a list of all of our upcoming events. They're all in order. So the event that pops up first is the next closest event that's coming up. They're all going to show up like that. If you don't see anything, we only show the first 4 events. After that, you have to hit the load more button and all that good stuff. But you'll find that information there. Below that, you'll find a little bit more, obviously, about what we do, what AVRO is doing. And I say we because, Drop a Gear has partnered with AVRO. And so we are just as much a part of what they're doing, helping them get set up, helping provide content and different things like that if you haven't been on our side of the channel. But getting back to the AVRO website, you'll find all that information in there. You can click on the About Us and find out more about all of the different members who are on the AVRO team, the different drivers, what we do, things like that. There's a little section in there for stories, updates, event highlights that we'll probably cover in different avenues. You can find links to the Instagram accounts. You can find links to all of the other different pages. You can even donate directly to AVRO if you can't volunteer and you just, hey, I just want to kick over $20 or whatever. You can even find the donation tab down at the bottom. There's also a quick link at the top that moves into that. I also would highly encourage everyone who visits the site to check out our sponsors tab, because our sponsors at AVRO are one of the biggest supporters to the team, Drop a Gear being obviously one of them. We have Wiggity Wayne sauces, there's 13 Monkeys whiskey, there's A&S Performance, which is up there it's in Buffalo, if I remember
Correct. Yeah,
correctly.
Buffalo area. Yeah.
Yep. So we've got all kinds of different guys. Ghostface Racing also is helping along with that as well.
Snack attack
There's
vending.
Snack Attack Vending. There's so many different sponsors, and we are finding more and more people who are supporting this mission, and I find that to be just phenomenal. But honestly, one of the biggest supporters is actually sitting right off of Mike's shoulder, and that would be KIA Memorial Road March. So, Mike, you have all the info about those guys and just all the amazing things that they're doing, because they're also a nonprofit veterans assistance organization.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've the guy that runs it, Jason School, I've known for quite some time. I believe I mentioned him the last podcast as well. And, we're going to participate in everything that we can with their events to obviously show the support that they're showing us. And those will also be on the website. So not everything that we're doing is race related. However, there is, I believe, obstacle courses when they do the road march in August. I don't know the layout yet. So,
Those should be fun.
somewhat of a race, just not with motorsports. But
if I show up with a pit bike, we can make it about motorsports.
I ain't gonna say no to that. But anyways, yeah, they do a lot for us, and Jason's been, I mean, since the day I met him, we actually went to Bring a Soldier to School Day, and we both met there, and we hit it off from there, and just casually our relationship built up. And when I was running a summer program for playing hockey for veterans and stuff like that, he actually came to my Woods Beer Bash, whatever you want to call it, fundraiser event. He came to support, and he didn't have to, so. When I talked to him about my idea, he got pretty excited, and then as things started rolling through the month of February, he got even more pumped up. So obviously, I want to make sure that we're doing everything we can for this guy. And his crew. I mean, he has an amazing crew. Jillian Barr, who's she is somehow managing to help us as well as everything she does for them. I think the joke people say someone that wears many hats is like an understatement for her. I don't know how she does it. She's got to be have clones somewhere. I don't know. She's absolutely phenomenal, and she's actually the big reason why even we have these banners back here. So she jumps on things pretty quick, and
Oh yeah,
so
because
it's been,
she got a lot of the graphics for the website done together
yeah,
so that we could get the website put together relatively quick too,
yeah,
because um, that was quite the undertaking. So, but
yeah.
I'm glad that the site is where it's at, and I'm glad that we have those kind of team members on board.
Oh yeah, absolutely. She jumped right in, and so and all the other guys are coming around too, so which is great. And we're also doing this weekend Saturday. I'm helping out the Blue Star moms. They're
Yes.
doing a meat raffle, and I'm going for obviously to support them, but for recon just because I would like to host one for us to raise money, and they actually in turn want to come help run ours. So we have the volunteers and the manpower to run it. So. But that's just part of me like injecting myself in other veteran programs or military based programs to be into the community. So it's not always about motorsports. But this is how we make things happen and get people through tough times is working together like this.
Oh, absolutely. And that's one of the things that I know that some people might have been thinking about, like, okay, it's American Veteran Racing Organization, right? But we've kind of said it, we're racing for a cause, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I actually like that phrase specifically because of the fact that that is what we're doing. Yes, we're going to motorsports events. Yes, we're participating in races and things like that. But I like the fact that AVRO is not just focused on only the racing side. I love the fact that there's other events that we can go to that we can cover down on and get that exposure out, but also get that support out there. And just working with other organizations is always a nice thing as well.
Yeah, I've come across some organizations that there's competing organizations out there, and they said to me, well, when I've asked questions about things, they're well, if they get a sponsor, we don't get a sponsor, and it's more focused on the money and for them and stuff like that. And I understand that you need the money and the funding to make these programs work and make things happen. But at the end of the day, really, we got to be a team, and I just don't see it that way. So it doesn't matter if it's reflecting on doing racing or whatever Blue Star Moms is doing or whatever their mission. It's all to me the same. So together we're in it. And I think that's going to make it a lot better for veterans down the road if we can get this going. And one thing
Oh,
that
absolutely.
biggest thing that one of my first NCOs I ever had was set a standard. If you want to be a good NCO, you set a standard, you set a bar for people to reach. And so to me, it's when I hear other programs doing that, like they care more about the money or getting a sponsor over somebody else. That's not the right standard.
No,
Again, I
and
know.
that's very true. One of the things that talking about standards, like it's a team, right? Like, yeah, sure, we may be competing, but we're also able to do different things with the same idea. You know,
Mhm.
they may do it differently through their programs than we do, but when we work together as a team, goes right back to that cliche line: we're all going to achieve what we wanted to get done.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
I
So
agreed with that standard is there, and that's what makes a good NCO, you know, a good NCO. They
yeah.
follow that standard. They're following it within the guidelines that their upper command comes up with and things like that. Yeah, so it's been a lot of different things that we've talked about tonight, and I first of all I want to say thank you, Mike, for coming on the podcast again. Big
Thanks
shout
for
out
having me.
to you guys for kind of helping us step up our game a little bit. Um, Greatly appreciate that. I want to shout out everything, obviously, to all of our sponsors: KIA, Wiggity Wayne Sauces, Snack Attack, ANS, 13 Monkeys, Ghostface Racing. Probably going to forget some of them. So if I forgot any of them, I'm sorry. But yeah, with all the sponsors out there that we have, I greatly appreciate all of you. You guys are the one of the driving forces that make everything that we do here possible, and things like that. So I again Thank you for coming on the show. This has been another great episode. I look forward to doing some more of these episodes. Thanks for tuning in to the Gearbusters podcast. You can find all of the links in the description to all the various websites that we've talked about. You can find links to AVRO's website. You can find links to all of our websites as well. You can also find our link to our patron site, which, if you don't remember, 10% of all of our income from Patreon, we're going to actually be donating right back into the AVRO program and the things that they're doing. So please consider subscribing to the channel. It does give you exclusive access. You get to listen to these podcasts, a little bit sooner than everyone else. And, we'll get you guys hooked up with some other cool stuff when you're a member. So again, thanks for tuning in to the Gearbusters podcast. We'll catch you in 2 weeks on another episode of the Gearbusters podcast. Thanks for tuning in.